Hello there, and welcome to Dream Myths. Tonight, there is a collection of rainy tales woven from the very fabric of slumber and the hushed echoes of the past. Take a moment to truly embrace relaxation, to settle yourself deeply and discover a posture where your entire being can surrender to complete repose. Feel the delightful heaviness in your eyelids, as if the profound embrace of the night itself is gently coaxing them closed. With each deliberate breath, envision any lingering tension, any fragment of the day's toil gracefully departing your body. As you continue this mindful rhythm, allow yourself to become utterly relaxed, exquisitely heavy, and profoundly still. Experience a soothing, gentle wave of tranquility that commences its ascent from the tips of your toes, steadily unfurling its calm embrace all the way to the crown of your head. Each incoming breath carries with it a subtle, whispered secret from the very heart of the nocturnal hours, delicately brushing past your consciousness. There is no need for strenuous concentration upon the unfolding narrative. Simply surrender to the gentle current of my voice, permitting it to carry you effortlessly as you gradually drift into tonight's unfolding tale. Now, as your breathing establishes a steady, rhythmic cadence, akin to the soft percussion of raindrops against a pane, and your mind attains a stillness as profound as a city street at its midnight hush, prepare to journey with me into a story of profound discovery, unexpected connection, and the tender, elusive magic found within the serene, sleeping hours of New York's storied past. You find yourself situated at your desk, nestled within the bustling, yet curiously hushed confines of the New York Chronicle's newsroom. Your gaze is fixed, almost transfixed, upon the stack of photographs your editor has unceremoniously returned. The aggressive scarlet markings of the red pencil, scrawled across your meticulous work, cut deep, each slash a stark indictment. Too stiff, no feeling. Indeed, it feels as though every single crimson stroke of that formidable pencil is not merely a mark on paper, but a visceral incision directly into the very essence, the very soul of your artistic spirit. Walsh, get in here. Editor Barnes's voice, a gravelly summons, cuts through the low murmur of the newsroom from his doorway. You straighten the knot of your tie, a reflexive gesture before embarking on the familiar trek across the worn, creaking wooden floor. Barnes, a man of few superfluous words, states his case with blunt precision. Your technical skills, he concedes, are utterly unquestionable. They are, he implies, flawless in their execution. Yet, he continues, they demonstrably fail to achieve the primary objective. They do not, to put it plainly, sell newspapers. What is required, he asserts, are photographs possessing a potent, evocative power, images capable of stirring profound emotion within the viewer. His gaze, sharp and unyielding, pierces through the very lens of your camera, seeking relentlessly for that singular, vital component you demonstrably lack, a heart, an emotional core that breathes life into mere composition. Then, with an air of finality that brooks no argument, you are assigned one last pivotal task: to produce a special feature for the highly anticipated weekend edition bearing the enigmatic title, The Soul of New York at Night. Your directive is unequivocally clear. Unveil the authentic essence of this sprawling metropolis, to reveal its true character during those profound, silent hours when the vast majority of its inhabitants are lost in slumber. The soul of New York. The phrase itself hangs in the air, a burden both ethereal and immensely weighty. It feels less like a mere assignment and more like an impossible quest, an invisible, almost spectral curse that relentlessly clings to your every thought and step. Leaving the imposing edifice of the Chronicle building, the evening air greets you with a crisp, invigorating chill, bearing the first subtle hint of the encroaching autumn. The weight of your camera bag, usually a familiar comfort, now presses down with an almost oppressive heaviness. Your meticulously mastered technical tools, those instruments of precision and control, now feel profoundly inadequate, even futile, in the face of such an abstract, intangible objective. How does one truly capture the ephemeral soul of an entire city? Streetlights, one by one, begin to flicker into life, casting long, fractured shadows as twilight deepens its indigo embrace, and you find yourself utterly adrift, contemplating where, in this vast urban expanse, one might even begin such an endeavor. The first tentative drops of rain begin their descent, each falling pearl echoing the profound uncertainty swirling within you. This initial light drizzle quickly escalates into an insistent downpour, forcing you to hastily tuck your precious camera pack securely beneath the inadequate shelter of your coat and seek refuge beneath the welcoming overhang of a shop awning. Before your very eyes, the familiar cityscape undergoes a profound transformation. The bustling streets become shimmering, distorted mirrors, reflecting the neon glow and fractured patterns, while pedestrians, once distinct individuals, are reduced to anonymous, hurried shapes, dissolving into the liquid gloom. Each individual raindrop striking the pavement with a melancholic sigh resonates like a singular beat of raw despair, seamlessly merging into the grand, melancholic symphony of a city slowly, gracefully surrendering itself to the embrace of slumber. It is now precisely 11:30 p.m. The night, in its expansive, starless void, pulses with an almost daunting array of possibilities, yet simultaneously presents a challenge of formidable proportions. How, you ponder, can one possibly hope to photograph something as utterly intangible, as ineffable as the very soul of a city? As the relentless downpour hammered against the shop awning, a distinctive yellow taxi, a beacon of urban routine, pulled silently to the curb. Its elderly driver, a man named Jack, lowered his window, his voice a surprisingly gentle offer of shelter from the escalating tempest. His eyes, though crinkled with age and wisdom, held a peculiar, almost knowing depth, illuminated by an amused, almost mischievous sparkle. A curious glint danced within Jack's eyes, as if he possessed an innate foresight, privy to all outcomes, even those burgeoning thoughts you had yet to consciously form. You, ever the dedicated professional, politely declined his offer, articulating your current engagement, a subtle pat to your camera bag serving as tacit confirmation of your photographic pursuit. Jack, however, did not immediately depart. Instead, he evinced a distinct interest, his voice a low, intrigued murmur. "A photographer, eh? I dare say I might have a few insights for some rather special pictures myself." He then introduced himself simply as Jack, a cab driver, he added, of many, many years' standing, suggesting a lifetime of quiet observation. You, in turn, offered your own name, Henry Walsh, from the New York Chronicle. Jack, with an almost preternatural intuition, then extended an unprecedented offer to guide you to those rarely seen pockets of the city, the hidden enclaves that most ordinary folk, bound by the rhythms of daylight, would never truly discover. It was there, he suggested, you might finally unearth the elusive essence you so desperately sought. Jack's voice, now a mere whisper, carried an almost hypnotic quality, a beguiling invitation into the clandestine underbelly of the city, where countless untold secrets patiently awaited their revelation. A moment of hesitation flickered within you. The late hour, the pressing deadline, the inherent strangeness of the offer itself, all weighed heavily. Yet, there was an inexplicable trustworthiness in Jack's weathered countenance, an odd familiarity that settled deep within your gut, as though you had known him or someone very like him for an age. Jack, as if sensing your internal calculus, offered a conspiratorial wink, assuring you the meter was firmly off, considering his impending contribution to the arts. The rain outside, as if echoing your internal struggle, began to drum with renewed intensity against the pavement, and the cold, unyielding reality of your looming deadline pressed down upon you. Yet, in that precise moment, Jack's unconventional proposition ignited a potent spark of pure, unadulterated curiosity within your weary soul. With a decisive nod, you agreed, sliding into the well-worn, almost sentient leather seat of his venerable cab. That old yellow taxi, steeped in countless journeys and silent confidences, felt less like a mere vehicle and more akin to an arcane time machine, poised to transport you into the heart of an utterly unforeseen adventure. As the taxi pulled away from the curb, Jack remarked that it had been many years since he'd had a photographer as a passenger, adding almost as an aside that he himself had once possessed a considerable, if perhaps amateur, knowledge of the craft. You, feeling an unburdening sense of camaraderie, confessed your editor's harsh verdict that your pictures, for all their technical prowess, lacked soul. Jack merely nodded, a gesture of profound understanding. Technical skill, he sagely observed, could only carry one so far. The true, ineffable magic, he continued, the alchemy of genuine artistry, only occurred when one forged an authentic, resonant connection with the very subject being photographed. Without further preamble, he turned the taxi onto the grand expanse of Broadway, proposing it as their initial destination. A place, he mused, that everyone believed they knew intimately, yet one which, at the stroke of midnight, would reveal its authentic, unvarnished face. Times Square at midnight presents an altogether distinct tableau from its daytime incarnation. Gone is the cacophony, the overwhelming crush of humanity. Instead, the crowds have thinned, dissolving into scattered, almost spectral figures, their movements softened by the pervasive rain. The ubiquitous neon signs, those dazzling titans of light, now find their brilliance multiplied, reflecting in the rain-slicked pavement, transforming the very ground into a myriad of shimmering liquid mirrors. Jack, with an almost reverential tone, explains that this is the precise hour when the place truly breathes, when its deeper, more authentic rhythms emerge from beneath the veneer of commerce. You can almost palpably feel the cool, ancient breath of Times Square itself, the exhalation of a venerable, perhaps weary, yet perpetually dancing soul, perpetually pirouetting beneath the ceaseless, hypnotic glow of its neon lights. Stepping out from the relative shelter of the cab, you instinctively cup your hands around your camera, a shield against the persistent drizzle. The very air around you feels charged, almost electric, with the resonant hum of the myriad neon installations, the distant, muffled symphony of city sounds, the melancholic wail of a lone saxophone, and the ceaseless patter of the rain. Jack, with an almost casual gesture, directs your attention to a lone figure, Otto, a street cleaner who, he observes, has been diligently sweeping this very stretch of pavement for some 30 years. When you inquire as to the source of his esoteric knowledge, Jack's reply is delivered with a knowing, almost conspiratorial air. Taxi drivers, you see, they know everything truly worth knowing in this city. Jack's words echo subtly in the damp night air. Taxi drivers know everything. A profound implication within that simple statement suggests an intricate, unseen network of intelligence, a hidden lexicon of understanding accessible only to those who truly belong to the profound quietude of the nocturnal hours. You raise your camera, the lens seeking its subject, and capture the solitary street cleaner, his silhouette hunched against the vastness of the square, is momentarily haloed by the luminous glow of a vintage movie marquee grandly advertising Casablanca. Jack nods in silent approval, but then, with an almost imperceptible gesture, bids you to wait. It is a moment of expectant hush. Then, as if conjured by the very silence, a young couple materializes, sharing the intimate shelter of a single umbrella. They pause instinctively beneath the glow of the largest neon sign, their faces bathed in an ethereal, soft blue luminescence. Jack's voice, a mere exhalation, whispers, "Now." Your finger presses the shutter. You capture the moment, the intertwined couple, the dazzling cascade of lights, the wet pavement acting as a perfect liquid mirror reflecting their tender tableau. The composition, the interplay of light and shadow, feels exquisitely right, a resonance your work has seldom achieved. Jack, his gaze distant, quietly begins to reminisce about an earlier Times Square, one populated by horse-drawn carriages and illuminated by the very first tentative electric signs, recounting these bygone eras with a vividness that lends his memories an almost personal intimacy. Jack's voice, now subtly consumed by the insistent drum of the rain, conjures distant memories of a Times Square long past, as if he himself had been an enduring sentinel, witnessing its very genesis and evolution. Before you can articulate the burgeoning questions swirling in your mind, Jack smoothly guides you onward, leading you to an array of different vantage points. With the innate knowledge of a seasoned cartographer of the night, he points out angles and fleeting moments you would undoubtedly have overlooked. The quiet, methodical actions of a newsboy, meticulously counting his meager coins. The ethereal steam rising from a pretzel vendor's cart, twisting into fleeting, ghostly spirals in the chill air. After nearly an hour spent in this dance with the city's hidden nocturnal life, Jack turns to you, his expression unreadable, and asks if you've managed to capture anything truly worth printing. You nod, a burgeoning sense of excitement, a lightness you haven't felt in weeks, blooming within you. These images, you confess, feel fundamentally different. It is as if, after a lifetime of observing, you are truly seeing Times Square for the very first time. Jack's reply, delivered with a profound simplicity, is equally profound. It's because you're not just looking at it, you're feeling it. He then checks his pocket watch. Its discreet click, a punctuation mark in the night, and with a knowing glance suggests another location, another secret pulse of the city's hidden heartbeat awaits your lens. Jack's taxi, now quiet companion in the deep hours of the night, began to wind its way through the quieter, more residential thoroughfares of Harlem. The time had long since passed 1 a.m., and the earlier insistent rain had softened to a gentle, almost ethereal mist, lending the streets a dream-like quality. You remarked, almost to yourself, that by this hour, most establishments, certainly most clubs, would have long since drawn their curtains. Jack, however, offered a knowing counterpoint, a soft, confident assertion. "Not all," he murmured, a phrase pregnant with unspoken meaning, implying that the real music The unadulterated essence of the night's melody only truly began to unfurl its wings once the paying customers had departed. Jack's words, veiled in an intriguing mystery, suggested the existence of a clandestine musical realm, a sanctuary of sound reserved solely for kindred spirits, diligently concealed from the garish glare of commercial neon. He brought the venerable cab to a gentle halt beside an unmarked brick building, utterly devoid of any overt signage, yet from within its stoic facade, a faint, golden luminescence spilled onto the damp pavement, accompanied by the mellifluous mellow notes of a saxophone, a siren song in the urban quiet. Jack led you to a nondescript door, its surface worn smooth by countless unseen hands, and delivered a distinctive, almost ritualistic pattern of knocks. Moments later, the door swung inward to reveal a large, impeccably dressed man in a sharp suit, a figure of quiet authority named Leon, who embraced Jack with the heartfelt familiarity of an old and cherished friend. Jack, in turn, introduced you simply yet profoundly as a photographer from the Chronicle, here to undertake the vital task of capturing the city's night soul. You then descended a narrow, slightly creaking staircase, each step leading you deeper into the intimate embrace of a dimly lit basement club. The space was illuminated solely by the flickering, dancing flames of scattered table candles, casting a warm, sepia glow upon the worn furnishings. On a small, almost unassuming stage, 5 musicians, their faces etched with quiet dedication, played with an intensity that belied their audience of almost no one. Jack's voice, a mere breath against your ear, conveyed the heart of the matter. After hours, he whispered, they play for themselves, just pure jazz. The saxophone's lament, a plaintive yet profoundly passionate love song, soared through the intimate space, ensnaring your very being within its ethereal embrace, transporting you to a surreal dimension where time itself seemed to gracefully suspend its inexorable march. A slender saxophonist, his eyes serenely closed in profound concentration, leaned into a solo that seemed to defy the very constraints of temporal progression. Each note elongated, bent, and stretched into an impossible, breathtaking arc. His face remained shrouded in the club's ambient shadows, yet the burnished brass of his saxophone gleamed with an almost living light, appearing as a seamless, incandescent extension of his very soul. The pianist, a man of quiet intensity, watched his bandmate with a subtle, almost imperceptible smile, his fingers already dancing in a silent, anticipatory complement to the unfolding melody. Jack, with the innate perception of a true observer, commented softly on the exquisite quality of the light, observing how the single overhead spotlight expertly sculpted dramatic shadows, creating an almost painterly tableau. You began, almost instinctively, to capture images. The saxophonist lost in a state of musical ecstasy, the drummer's hands a rhythmic blur of motion, the bassist's elegant, almost balletic precision. Between shots, your gaze drifted, and you observed Jack exchanging quiet nods with a few select patrons, a waitress, moving with the practiced efficiency of one who understood the rhythms of the after hours, approached their table, placing a glass of whiskey before him, addressing him with a respectful familiarity as Mr. Jack. You seized the opportunity to inquire if he frequented this particular establishment. His reply was delivered with an enigmatic, almost wistful air. In another life. In another life. Jack's response, enigmatic and profound, hung in the air like an unsolved riddle, hinting at a veiled past, a rich tapestry of experiences from a life he once intimately inhabited. He then subtly directed your attention to the piano player, offering a precise, almost prescriptive suggestion. That, my friend, is your shot. Half in shadow, half in light, just like the music itself. Perfectly balanced, perfectly profound. You instinctively followed his discerning guidance, and a thrill, a genuine rush of artistic satisfaction coursed through you. The resulting image was indeed perfect, speaking directly to the very essence of this hidden, sacred room, a testament to shared passion and whispered intimacies. You could not help but voice your growing astonishment at his seemingly profound knowledge of photographic composition, particularly for a taxi driver. Jack, however, merely offered a dismissive shrug, claiming he had simply picked up some things over the years and that he had always possessed an innate appreciation for those gifted individuals capable of capturing fleeting moments truly worth remembering. He then took a slow, contemplative sip of his whiskey, musing aloud that sometimes he truly believed photographs possessed a greater fidelity, a more enduring memory than human beings themselves. The music, as if responding to the quiet shift in the room's energy, transitioned into something slower more overtly melancholy, a poignant ballad. A woman, slender and elegant in a midnight blue dress, stepped forward, her voice a hushed, soulful counterpoint to the instrumental lament. The woman's voice, a haunting whisper from some other realm, permeated every shadowed corner of the room, an ethereal balm soothing unseen wounds, unspoken sorrows. Jack's voice, softer still, barely audible above the music, broke the spell. This is the last song of the night. Make it count. You raised your camera one final time, the lens seeking, framing a shot that encapsulated the very soul of the club in that moment. An exquisite tapestry of shared intimacy, a collective, unspoken appreciation for the profound, fragile beauty being woven in the heart of the night. Jack's taxi, now a familiar and comforting presence, glided almost imperceptibly towards the iconic Brooklyn Bridge. The hour was approaching 2:30 a.m., a time when the city itself seemed to hover in a strange, liminal state, neither fully asleep nor truly awake. Jack, with the quiet conviction of one who understands the deeper currents of the urban landscape, declared that there was no finer vantage point from which to truly witness the city's profound reflection than from the very middle of this colossal structure, a bridge that had tirelessly carried the weight of countless lives and stories since its inaugural opening. When you, perhaps with a touch of youthful precision, pointed out that the monumental bridge had officially opened in the year 1883, Jack merely chuckled, a low, resonant sound. "Just a vigorous speech, kid," he quipped, dismissing your historical exactitude with an easy wave of his hand. Jack's laughter, warm and imbued with an ageless wisdom, suggested a profound, lived experience, as though he himself had stood witness to the very first day this engineering marvel spanned the churning waters of the East River. He then pulled the taxi to a gentle stop at the bridge's entrance, suggesting they embark on foot for the optimal perspective, a decision you readily embraced. The bridge, as you stepped onto its hallowed ground, seemed to welcome you with a presence akin to that of a grand cathedral. Its majestic Gothic arches, strung with a meticulous array of lights, ascended into the pre-dawn sky, creating an ethereal pathway of shimmering stars, drawing the eye inexorably upward. Your footsteps, softened by the dampness, echoed with a pleasing rhythm on the aged wooden planks as you followed Jack's lead. With a voice tinged with quiet reverence, Jack recounted that 27 souls had perished in the bridge's construction, including its visionary architect, John Roebling. His son, Washington, despite being gravely ill, had persevered, overseeing its completion from his sickbed, observing the painstaking progress through the powerful lens of a telescope. As he spoke, Jack ran a weathered hand along the cool iron railing, a gesture of deep connection. "There's a story," he murmured, "behind absolutely everything in this city. If only you know precisely where to look." Jack's hand, a living conduit to the past, drifted lightly over the cold iron of the railing, an almost tangible communion with the very spirits who had sacrificed their lives for this monumental endeavor, their vibrant past now living beneath your very feet. You eventually reached the first towering pylon, and the view, suddenly unfettered, opened dramatically before you. To the west, the glittering, iconic Manhattan skyline ascended into the brightening sky, a testament to human aspiration. To the east, Brooklyn's distinctive profile emerged from the encroaching dawn, a counterpoint of grounded solidity. Between them, the East River flowed with a liquid obsidian sheen, a silent, powerful artery. Jack then led you to what he clearly deemed the perfect vantage point, precisely midway between the two colossal towers. "This," he announced with an air of understated certainty, "is where you'll truly find what you've been looking for." You began instinctively to capture images, the intricate, almost mathematical precision of the bridge cables, forming geometric patterns against the softening sky, the majestic symmetry of the towers, rising like ancient sentinels, and the serene mirrored scene unfolding in the calm, unruffled waters below. Jack, ever the keen observer, then offered a piece of invaluable advice: to patiently await the precise moment a tugboat reached the very center of your frame. Its passage, he explained, would create a deliberate disturbance in the water's surface, crafting ephemeral, leading reflections that would subtly guide the viewer's eye through the composition. This particular piece of photographic counsel, so precise in its technical detail and artistic foresight, struck you as far too sophisticated for mere casual interest. Jack's profound depth of photographic knowledge far transcended that of a mere taxi driver, suggesting rather that he was an anonymous, almost legendary master photographer who had silently, meticulously observed the city's unfolding narrative across countless centuries. Unable to contain your growing curiosity, you turned to him directly, the question escaping your lips before conscious thought. Had he, in fact, ever been a photographer himself? He paused, his gaze drifting across the vast expanse of the harbor, silent for a profound moment, as if sifting through countless memories. Then, his eyes meeting yours, he replied, "Let's just say I've spent a lifetime observing this city through many different frames." A faint, enigmatic smile played upon his lips. "Some people," he mused, his voice imbued with a quiet philosophy, "are simply meant to experience life in its rawest form. Others are destined to merely capture it, to render it static in an image. But the truly fortunate few," he concluded, his smile deepening, "they are blessed with the opportunity to do both." Through the thinning mist of the pre-dawn hours, the diner emerged as a beacon, its windows steamy and suffused with a warm, inviting glow, much like a lighthouse guiding weary ships to shore. Above its entrance, a neon sign declaring "Ruby's All Night Eats" flickered intermittently, a testament to its tireless vigil through countless nocturnal shifts. Jack, with a comforting certainty, promised not only the finest apple pie, but also coffee of a potency so formidable, he quipped, it could develop film. The intertwining aromas of freshly brewed coffee and warm, spiced apple pie wafted outwards. A fragrant, irresistible invitation on the biting cold of the winter night, a veritable oasis for souls weary from the ceaseless demands of the city. Inside, the atmosphere was one of quiet, shared solitude. A half-dozen nighttime patrons occupied the worn booths, a microcosm of the city's nocturnal inhabitants. 2 uniformed police officers, their expressions weary but watchful. A nurse, her scrubs a splash of white against the dimness, and other solitary figures, each lost in their own thoughts, were the quiet companionship of the hour. Jack, with the easy familiarity of a long-standing acquaintance, called out to Ruby, a robust woman of formidable presence who presided over the counter. Her greeting was genuinely warm, a testament to their shared history. Jack, with a smooth, almost practiced introduction, presented you as Henry, a photographer embarking on the noble quest of capturing the city's essence. Ruby, her gaze shrewd and assessing, studied you for a moment. "A photographer, eh?" she mused, a hint of approval in her voice. "I like it. Then, with an almost imperceptible catch in her throat, she quickly glanced at Jack, a fleeting shadow of something unsaid passing between them. Jack, ever poised, smoothly completed her thought, like my old friend. Ruby's eyes, momentarily locking with Jack's, conveyed a silent, profound understanding, a glance laden with untold implication, as if they shared a secret narrative, an ancient, familiar past known only to them. You moved through the diner with a respectful deference, your camera a quiet, unobtrusive extension of your eye. The patrons, remarkably, offered no resistance. Instead, they met your presence with unfeigned smiles or quiet nods, clearly comfortable within this sanctuary, seemingly accepting of your intent. The most striking observation, however, was not the individual characters, but the palpable sense of community that bloomed among these strangers, united in their singular aloneness, finding a curious solace in shared silence. As you savored your slice of apple pie, its warmth a comforting balm against the chill of the night, your gaze idly drifted across the diner's decor. It snagged on a framed photograph adorning the wall, an old, sepia-toned image of the diner itself, likely from the 1930s. In the foreground, a younger Ruby, her hair dark and her eyes bright, stood behind the same counter. What truly captivated you, however, was not merely the historical context, but the striking composition of the photograph, its lighting and framing possessing an undeniable artistic merit. You complimented Ruby on the image, and she, with a soft smile, explained that a regular customer had taken it years ago. He was, she remembered, someone who had a certain way of seeing things, a gift for elevating the ordinary into the realm of the special. That aged photograph, clinging to the diner wall like a forgotten secret, acted as a temporal aperture, an open window peering into a past epoch, a time when an anonymous photographer with an uncannily similar style to your own had preserved that very moment. A chilling sensation, a profound shiver, traced its path down your spine. Could this be a harbinger of something far greater? A coincidence of such magnitude as to defy any rational explanation? The implication of a shared vision, spanning decades, hung heavy in the air, a silent, unsettling question mark etched into the fabric of the night. With a gesture that implied an understanding of its delicate nature, Jack suggested leaving the camera bag securely nestled within the taxi for their next destination, the expanse of Central Park. The park, under the cloak of night, underwent a profound metamorphosis. A light, ethereal mist, almost painterly in its translucence, hovered just above the ground, gently catching and diffusing the soft illumination from scattered lamp posts, transforming familiar pathways into shimmering corridors. From the overarching canopy of ancient trees, accumulated raindrops released their hold, descending with soft, rhythmic taps, a natural percussion against the prevailing quietude. Jack, ever the purveyor of hidden truths, remarked that while most individuals perceive the park as a place of peril after dusk, it, in fact, possessed its own profound and unique serenity, accessible only to those discerning enough to know where and how to seek it out. The winding path, damp and hushed, led them towards a small, unassuming bridge, arching gracefully over a tranquil pond. Your attention was immediately captivated by the utterly perfect reflection of a distant lamppost, its golden glow mirrored with breathtaking precision upon the unruffled surface of the water. Then, a subtle movement at the periphery of your vision caught your eye. Faint, pale shapes, almost translucent, gliding silently through the swirling mist. A small, ethereal group of deer emerged from the deeper shadows of the trees, their forms rendered ghostly and indistinct in the low light. They moved with an almost ethereal grace, their delicate hooves barely disturbing the damp earth, making their way towards the water's edge, seemingly utterly unaware of your hushed presence. These deer materialized as if specters from another dimension, a breathtakingly ephemeral spectacle reserved solely for those patient few willing to truly embrace the profound quiet of the nocturnal realm. "Incredible," you whispered, the word barely audible as you instinctively raised your camera. "I had known deer still inhabited the park." Jack's reply was delivered with characteristic insight. Most people, he observed, simply failed to perceive them. They possessed an innate, primal wisdom, he explained, an understanding of the precise moments when it was safe, when the veil of human intrusion was thin enough for them to emerge. You captured a series of images: the ethereal deer, their haunting reflections, and the swirling mist that enveloped them. Each click of the shutter deepening your sense of having inadvertently stepped into a secluded, pristine pocket of untouched wilderness within the very heart of the sprawling metropolis. Jack, his voice a quiet, contemplative murmur, then offered a profound observation. "Some things in New York he mused, are truly eternal. They exist beyond the bricks and mortar of buildings, beyond the mundane expanse of streets, beyond the fleeting attention of most people. They simply are. After a prolonged silence, during which only the soft hum of the taxi's engine broke the serene quiet, Jack gently steered the vehicle towards the East River. Here, against the gradually lightening canvas of the pre-dawn sky, the skeletal framework of what was destined to become the future United Nations headquarters stood in stark, almost defiant silhouette, a nascent titan of steel and concrete. Observing the unfinished, angular forms, you remarked, perhaps a touch prosaically, that there wasn't much to look at yet. Jack, however, countered with a profound depth of insight, perhaps not in its physical form. He mused, his voice imbued with a quiet gravitas. But what it represents, that, my friend, is unequivocally worth seeing. Here, in this very spot, the world, in its fractured complexity, decided to come together. It is the very essence of something hopeful, rising from the crucible of past conflicts. Jack's voice, a resonant, almost prophetic cadence, painted a vivid auditory image of the future, of a world embracing peace. Slowly, painstakingly, taking shape from the remnants of devastation, you followed him to a carefully chosen vantage point, one that afforded a sweeping panorama. The half-built structure, still raw and exposed, was framed exquisitely by the languid flow of the East River, its dark waters catching the first nascent blush of dawn. The entire construction site, typically a hive of frantic activity, lay in a profound, almost reverent peace, a silent congregation of inert materials and dormant machinery, each element brimming with unspoken, monumental potential. Jack, in his characteristic manner, offered another philosophical observation on the city itself. New York, he explained, was in a constant state of becoming something entirely new, perpetually reinventing itself. Yet it achieved this transformation without ever truly losing the essence of what it fundamentally was. It was a city of continuous, seamless evolution, retaining its core identity even as its skyline perpetually shifted. Inspired by this profound reflection, you began to photograph the intricate interplay of the emerging building against the subtle palette of the pre-dawn sky. The skeletal framework, though incomplete, suggested an inherent strength, a boundless possibility etched against the nascent light. A quiet click broke the contemplative silence as Jack checked his pocket watch. "Almost 6, he announced, his voice carrying a note of practical urgency. "You should have ample time to develop those photographs before your editor, no doubt a man of exacting standards, makes his inevitable appearance." As Jack's taxi began its final, measured glide back towards the imposing edifice of the Chronicle building, the city, in a symphony of awakening, slowly stirred around you. Early commuters, their faces etched with the promise of a new day, gathered at bus stops. Shopkeepers, with a rhythmic clang, began to raise their metal gates, and delivery trucks, their engines rumbling like distant thunder, traversed streets still glistening from the night's persistent rain. You turned to him, a profound sense of gratitude welling within you. "Thank you. You began." Your voice imbued with genuine awe. "I've lived here my entire life, but tonight, it was as though I was truly seeing New York for the very first time." Jack, a knowing smile playing on his lips, offered a simple yet profound truth. "Sometimes," he mused, his eyes crinkling at the corners, "we simply need to perceive familiar things through a fresh, unburdened lens." He then reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small, worn business card, its edges softened by countless unseen journeys. It bore no name, only a solitary phone number. "If you ever find yourself in need of another tour," he offered, his voice a low, inviting murmur, "just call." The night, you see, always reveals different secrets each time. 48 to 45, that aged business card, a tangible promise veiled in enigma, felt like a clandestine key, unlocking the potential for future, unforeseen odysseys. Yet, even as it beckoned towards tomorrow, it simultaneously heralded the chilling genesis of a profound, unsettling truth. The Chronicle building, when you finally stepped inside, was cloaked in a profound, almost reverent quietude, a stark contrast to the bustling awakening outside. You made your way with a sense of purpose to the familiar sanctuary of the dark room in the basement. The comforting, almost nostalgic scent of photographic chemicals, a blend of fixer and developer, greeted you as you meticulously began to prepare the development trays. 49 to 41. The darkroom process, with its precise, almost ritualistic steps, proved to be a deeply meditative exercise, its rhythmic actions calming the tumultuous currents of your mind after the night's extraordinary adventures. As the first faint images began their slow, magical emergence in the developer bath, a sharp intake of breath caught in your throat. These photographs, you instantly realized, were utterly unlike anything you had ever captured before. 50 to 30. The images materialized with a startling vibrancy, brimming with raw emotion and palpable life. Yet, an unsettling anomaly, the chilling void, began to insinuate itself into the periphery of your consciousness. The Times Square street cleaner, his silhouette perfectly etched against the neon glow, materialized with breathtaking clarity. The couple, sharing their intimate moment beneath the rain-slicked lights, appeared next, their shared wonder capturing something profoundly, universally human. One by one, the entire nocturnal journey unfolded before your eyes. The jazz musicians lost in their after-hours performance, the Brooklyn Bridge, spanning not merely water but the very fabric of time, the quiet communion of the night workers in Ruby's diner, the ghostly, ethereal deer gliding through Central Park's mist. But then, an absence, a gaping void, first seized your attention. A chilling revelation. In the photograph of Ruby's diner, the very booth where Jack had sat, where you distinctly remembered his presence, appeared utterly, inexplicably empty. And in the Brooklyn Bridge series, where you vividly recalled him standing directly beside you, pointing out the tugboat, there was no sign of him whatsoever. Throughout all the images, your enigmatic guide was conspicuously, utterly absent, as if he possessed an uncanny, preternatural awareness of precisely where to position himself to remain perpetually outside the frame. 52 to 45. Your heart, a frantic drum, began to pound against your ribs, accompanied by a chilling sensation that coursed down your spine. Jack, your steadfast companion, was nowhere to be found in any of the photographs, as if he were nothing more than a phantom, an ethereal illusion conjured by the profound depths of the night. You carefully hung the developed photographs to dry, stepping back to study them with a growing sense of wonder and a profound, unsettling awe. They were, without question, technically excellent, flawless in their execution, but they were also something far, far more. They contained the very emotional essence of each location, the raw, unvarnished feeling of New York, revealing its deepest self in those quiet, unguarded moments. Barnes had demanded the soul of the city at night, and somehow, with Jack's inexplicable guidance, you had captured it. Exactly. Walsh, get in here. Barnes's voice, a sudden guttural roar, jolted you violently awake from where you had dozed off on the break room couch. Sunlight, a stark contrast to the night's shadows, streamed through the window. It was mid-morning. You quickly, almost frantically, straightened your rumpled clothes and made your way to the editor's office, where you found him standing, utterly transfixed, before the photographs you had left on his desk. Barnes, a man usually so gruff and unyielding, struggled visibly to articulate his thoughts, his customary harshness softened by an unmistakable, genuine admiration. These are extraordinary, Henry, he stammered, his voice thick with unaccustomed awe. How the hell did you channel Jack Finley in these shots? 54 to 40. The name Jack Finley resonated through the quiet office, a sudden, deafening clap of thunder in your ears, violently tearing you from your hazy reverie, and simultaneously, irrevocably, unveiling a horrifying truth. The name, indeed, caught you completely off guard. Barnes, observing your stunned expression, looked at you strangely. Don't tell me you don't know Finley's work, he scoffed, a hint of incredulity in his tone. Greatest photographer this paper ever had. He then gestured towards the wall behind his desk, where, for the very first time, you noticed a framed photograph, one you had somehow inexplicably overlooked during all your previous visits to his office. It depicted Times Square in the rain, taken perhaps some 20 years earlier. In the foreground stood the very same street cleaner you had photographed last night, looking remarkably younger. The composition, the interplay of light, the profound feeling of the image, all were eerily, chillingly similar to your own work. The byline beneath it read, in stark, undeniable clarity, Jack Finley, Chief Photographer 1000, 920, 1 to 1938. That photograph, suspended on the wall like a spectral mirror, reflected a man with eyes uncannily identical to Jack's, possessing an identical photographic sensibility and bearing a name that had once resonated with profound significance in the annals of the newspaper's history. Barnes, utterly oblivious to the profound shock that had seized you, continued his monologue. Finley had this gift, You see, he explained, his voice tinged with a nostalgic reverence. He could capture a place like nobody else. Not just what a place looked like, but what it felt like. He added, with a sigh, that nobody had managed to match his work since he had passed away. Your voice, when it finally emerged, sounded distant, disembodied, almost alien to your own ears. Passed away? You repeated the words, a mere whisper. Barnes nodded, settling back into his chair. Heart attack, he confirmed. 1,938. 10 years ago now. The year 1938, a decade past. A profound, chilling sensation enveloped you, a creeping dread that solidified into an undeniable truth. Jack, your companion of the night, your enigmatic guide, had departed this world a full 10 years prior. He then tapped your photographs, his gaze returning to their powerful imagery. Whatever you did last night, he commanded, his voice regaining its usual gruff authority, keep doing it. These, Henry, they possess that same Finley magic. You stared, transfixed, at the framed photograph on the wall. The same kind eyes, the same knowing smile that had guided you through the sleeping city, now belonging to a man from a bygone era. Barnes continued, his voice softer now, explaining that Finley had often mentored young photographers, particularly those, he noted, who possessed technical skill but lacked heart. He would drive them around in his car, just as he had driven you, showing them the real New York. Outside the office window, a familiar yellow taxi passed, its polished windshield momentarily catching the morning sun, a fleeting golden flash. You recalled Jack's parting words, his voice echoing in your memory. Sometimes we need to see familiar things through fresh eyes. And then the worn business card, still nestled securely in your pocket, a phone number you now knew would never answer, yet one that remained inexplicably available to those who truly needed it. That business card, a tangible relic in your pocket, served as undeniable physical proof of a supernatural encounter, a stark reminder that the world harbored profound wonders, inexplicable phenomena that transcended the limited scope of human comprehension. A faint, mysterious smile, a secret understanding played upon your lips. I had a good guide, you told Barnes, your voice imbued with a newfound wisdom, someone who truly knows this city. Leaving the editor's office, you paused by the window, gazing out at the city now fully awake, bustling with vibrant energy and purposeful motion. The very same streets and buildings you had photographed just hours ago now pulsated with a different kind of life. Somewhere out there, perhaps, a yellow taxi was picking up another passenger, another soul in need of seeing New York through different, more profound eyes. And in the quiet solitude of the dark room, your photographs waited, preserving the timeless moments from a night journey through a city where time itself, like light on wet pavement, sometimes reflected an unexpected and breathtaking wave. A profound, enigmatic smile graced your lips. You had, in the crucible of that singular night, discovered the very soul of New York, and perhaps, in that extraordinary quest, the long-lost essence of your own spirit, guided by the unseen hand of a mentor from beyond the veil. The labyrinthine streets of Paris, softened by the late hour, lay cloaked in a profound quiet, disturbed only by the infrequent, purposeful rumble of military jeeps or the fading echoes of tipsy revelers. Yet, amidst this nocturnal hush, subtle signs of the city's enduring spirit began to emerge, almost imperceptibly. Freshly painted storefronts, their colors muted by the dim light, newly planted window boxes overflowing with verdant life, and bold, vibrant theater posters promising worlds of escapism, clinging defiantly to ancient walls. Mathilde, consulting her meticulously compiled list, felt a fresh wave of frustration wash over her. The old mill, her primary objective, along with most of the specialized merchants, appeared to be resolutely closed for the night. Just then, a small delivery truck, an ancient Citroën, a venerable vintage, its engine purring with a surprisingly gentle hum, drew to a stop beside her. Its driver, an elderly man with a cap pulled low over his forehead and eyes crinkled with years of quiet observation, leaned across the seat.
"Are you lost, mademoiselle?"
he inquired, his voice possessing the gentle, unhurried cadence of southern France, a balm in the cool Parisian night. Mathilde, seizing the unexpected opportunity, explained her predicament. She was in urgent need of specific, specialized baking ingredients, essential for a unique recipe, and required open suppliers immediately. The old man, Marcel, listened intently, his gaze thoughtful. Then his expression subtly shifted to one of profound recognition, as if a missing piece of a puzzle had suddenly clicked into place. He offered her a ride, explaining, almost as an aside, that his work involved delivering to restaurants, markets, and bakeries throughout the silent hours of the night. A spark of profound understanding ignited within Marcel's eyes, as if he had been patiently awaiting her arrival for an immeasurable span of time, a fated encounter unfolding amidst the deep quiet of the Parisian night. Mathilde hesitated for a mere breath, a flicker of caution against the inherent strangeness of the offer. Yet, there was an unmistakable trustworthiness in Marcel's gentle eyes, a deep-seated sincerity that quelled her apprehension. And time, she knew, was a precious commodity she could ill afford to squander. She climbed into the truck's worn interior, which carried a comforting, earthy aroma, a rich blend of wooden crates, fresh vegetables, and fragrant herbs. Mathilde Beaumont, she introduced herself, her voice a little breathless, owner of Boulangerie Bohème on Rue d'Anselme. Marcel repeated the name thoughtfully, his gaze sharpened with dawning recognition. "Ah," he murmured, a note of quiet certainty in his voice. Elizabeth Beaumont's granddaughter, then. He recognized something profound in her face, an echo of a past acquaintance. He had known her grandmother, he revealed, many years ago, and she had been nothing short of a master with bread, a true artisan of the boulangerie. His gaze then drifted towards the book clutched in her hand, his expression subtly shifting, a knowing glint in his eye. He suspected, he stated, with an almost uncanny intuition, that she was attempting a very special recipe indeed. Marcel's uncanny knowledge of Mathilde's family and her aunt's clandestine recipe amplified the driver's already mysterious aura. The truck rounded a corner, its tires whispering on the damp cobblestones, and turned onto a street where, improbably for the late hour, lights spilled forth from a cluster of establishments. Paris. Even after midnight, Mathilde realized, with a growing sense of wonder, was far more awake, far more alive than she had ever dared to imagine. Her curiosity now fully ignited, she asked how he had come to know of her grandmother's secret recipe. Marcel, his eyes fixed on the winding street ahead, replied simply that Paris, after midnight, held countless secrets. Some recipes, he explained, those imbued with true artistry and history, naturally became known among the select few who labored while the vast majority of the city slept. With a graceful turn of the steering wheel, he indicated that his unique delivery route naturally took him to all the right places, to the very heart of these hidden currents. Moments later, Marcel's truck drew to a halt at the very edge of Les Halles, the central market of Paris. Even at this late hour, the vast marketplace pulsed with a vibrant, almost primal activity, a living organism of commerce, workers, their movements efficient and practiced, unloaded crates of produce, their voices a low murmur against the general hum. Butchers, their aprons still pristine, meticulously prepared cuts of meat, while fishmongers with a precision born of long experience arranged glistening displays of the ocean's bounty. Marcel explained that most Parisians only ever witnessed Les Halles in the blinding light of day. The real market, he declared, the beating heart of its operations, truly came alive in these early, profound hours. The atmosphere of the market was that of a secret world, a bustling, clandestine realm preparing itself for the city's eventual awakening, its air filled with a rich tapestry of voices speaking in countless, diverse accents. The very air, thick with the mingled scents of rich earth, fresh fish, exotic spices, and fragrant blossoms, swirled around them, an intoxicating perfume of Parisian life, the very essence of Les Halles, a symphony of existence itself, a clandestine world accessible only to those discerning few who truly understood the profound, intricate rhythm of the Parisian night. Marcel, with a robust voice that cut through the market's hum, called out to a burly flower merchant named Henri, a man whose forearms rippled with strength. "Henri," he boomed, "I've brought Elizabeth's granddaughter." Henry's eyebrows rose in instant recognition. Elizabeth, he acknowledged, had been a baker who possessed an almost mystical understanding of flour, a profound intuition for its qualities. Without another word, he disappeared into a cavernous storeroom, emerging moments later with a burlap sack of flour. This was no ordinary flour, he explained. This was from the old stone mill nestled outside Montmartre, a special reserve, saved only for truly exceptional customers, now, by some twist of fate, bestowed upon Elizabeth's granddaughter, that unique sack of flour. A tangible gift from the deep past, served as a powerful affirmation of her grandmother's enduring legacy, and a poignant reminder of the invaluable significance of human connection. As they moved through the bustling market, it became abundantly clear that Marcel knew everyone. Vendors, their faces creased with exhaustion, but their eyes bright with the energy of the night, greeted him like an old, cherished friend. And when he introduced Mathilde, merely mentioning her grandmother's name, doors seemed to swing open. Select, rare items mysteriously appeared, and stories rich with the flavor of Parisian lore, flowed freely, unbidden. Marcel explained that her grandmother had frequented this very market herself, possessing an innate wisdom that the very finest ingredients found their way to those who understood the intricate nocturnal rhythms of Paris. Mathilde, utterly amazed by these revelations, could not help but ask if everyone had known her grandmother. Marcel, with a gentle shrug, offered a nuanced reply. Those who truly matter, ma petite, they did. Elizabeth, he explained, had held up profound belief that good bread was the very foundation of Parisian life, particularly during hard times, and she had tirelessly found ways to continue baking even when others had been forced to cease. Marcel then guided her through a narrow, almost secret passage, his voice dropping to a contemplative murmur as he touched upon significant periods in the city's history. The lingering shadow of the Great War, the crushing weight of the Depression, and the early, terrifying days of the occupation. They finally stopped at a honey vendor, where an ancient woman, her hands gnarled like ancient roots, presented Mathilde with a small, exquisite jar of amber liquid. This, the woman affirmed, was from the lavender fields outside the city, the best for your grandmother's recipe. The golden, shimmering honey, a precious gift from an ancient woman, carried with it the very essence of the lavender fields, a tangible piece of Paris's enduring soul. Mathilde's satchel, now remarkably heavier, grew steadily with precious cargo, special yeast, fragrant herbs, and crystalline sea salt from Brittany, each ingredient carrying its own quiet story, a deep connection to Parisian culinary tradition. She had had no inkling, not the slightest suspicion, that her grandmother had been so profoundly known, so deeply respected within this hidden nocturnal world. Marcel, with a gentle smile, helped her back into his truck. Her grandmother, he clarified, perhaps wasn't famous in the conventional sense, but she was, he stressed, profoundly respected among those who understood food as something far more than mere sustenance. He then started the engine, adding, "There's just one more place to visit." Marcel, with the quiet precision of long habit, parked his ancient Citroën near the venerable Pont Neuf, the oldest bridge in all of Paris. The eastern sky, now displaying the faintest blush of dawn, began its gentle ascent, casting a soft, pearlescent glow upon the ancient, ever-flowing waters of the Seine. Barges, their forms silhouetted against the nascent light, moved with a silent, almost spectral grace, while early risers, anticipating the day's first catch, meticulously set up their fishing lines. Along the quay, the venerable bouquinists, guardians of forgotten narratives, began to unfurl their green book-selling stalls, their treasures waiting patiently for the waking city. Marcel, his gaze sweeping across the tranquil scene, remarked that the river, in its ceaseless flow, had always been the very lifeblood of Paris, an enduring, resilient artery that had persisted, unwavering, even through the darkest, most harrowing days of the war. They descended a set of worn stone steps, smoothed by centuries of countless footsteps, leading to a small, secluded dock. There, an elderly woman, her form stooped by age but her movements precise, was engaged in the quiet, almost ritualistic act of filling an array of glass bottles directly from the river's cool, flowing current. Marie, an ancient woman, drew water from the very depths of the river Seine, enacting a ritual of profound antiquity, an indispensable, almost sacred component of the revered pain d'Aube recipe.